At dawn on a morning in 1829, a crowd gathered near Manchester to witness a transformation in human reach. The steam locomotive hissed and shuddered, iron frame trembling as pressurized vapor coiled through its valves. When it lurched forward, it broke a biological limit. For the first time, human beings were moving faster than any animal on Earth. Albert Einstein observed that no problem can be solved from the same level of thinking that created it. In the centuries that followed, we shattered limit after limit. We split the atom, sequenced the genome, and wrapped the planet in a digital mesh. We commanded a scale of physical power that no previous generation could imagine, yet we remained unprepared to govern it. We find ourselves living inside a vast institutional architecture we did not design, which quietly dictates what seems possible. This diagram represents the 4 pillars holding up the house of modern civilization: governance, economy, science, and ethics. Together, they define how we coordinate power, how we distribute value, how we pursue knowledge, and how we decide what makes life worth living. Our central crisis is one of misalignment. We have inherited world-altering power, but we are attempting to house it within an architecture that was never designed for this scale. During the reconstruction effort in Kabul, I saw how this architecture is imposed. When international advisors arrived, they carried more than just funding and expertise. They brought a standardized blueprint for a society. We arrived with a modular model of civilization. Our mandate was to install a parliament for governance, a central bank for the economy, a university for science, and a secular NGO for ethics. We treated these highly specific institutions as universal components. We assumed they could be dropped from the sky and assembled anywhere, like parts snapping into place. We forgot that in the West, these pillars took centuries to evolve. They were shaped by local struggle, cultural adaptation, and organic growth. In Afghanistan, they had no roots. Attempting to run a complex, localized reality using a rigidly pasted architecture from a different world guarantees systemic failure. The structures were there, but they couldn't hold the weight of the reality they were meant to support. Some arrangements work brilliantly at one historical scale, but generate catastrophic side effects when pushed to a planetary level. These are self-terminating solutions. Consider governance. The democratic dream was built to protect the people from the divine right of kings, but as the system scaled, it decayed into what political theorist Sheldon Woolen called managed democracy, a state where the outward rituals of voting mask a system captured by concentrated elite interests. This decay isn't inevitable, it's a failure of our current design. Many indigenous traditions, like the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, utilized consensus models that balanced local autonomy with a strict responsibility to the land and to generations not yet born. This diagram illustrates the structural engine of our economy. Because commercial banks create money through debt, every unit of currency is tied to the expectation of interest. This makes growth a structural imperative rather than a choice. To service this debt, the system survives by externalizing its true costs. The pollution of a river or the suffering in a supply chain simply do not appear on the producer's balance sheet. Our science pillar has its own structural blindness. When René Descartes declared that reality divides into mind and matter, he redefined our relationship to the living world. Matter became inert stuff, measurable and manipulable. This is why our economic systems can look at a forest and see only timber inventory. To the Cartesian mind, the forest has no interiority worth considering. As the scientific worldview rose, the cultural center that once organized shared meaning collapsed. We find ourselves in a moral vacuum, wielding unprecedented technological power, but lacking any shared imagination to guide it. The very systems built to emancipate us from scarcity and dogma are now the primary drivers of planetary fragmentation. These 4 pillars are all housed within a single political container, the sovereign nation-state. This bordered thinking began with the agricultural revolution, when we first conceived of ourselves as managers of ecosystems rather than participants within them. We invented the concept of weeds, nature that obstructs us, and crops, nature conscripted to serve us. The nation-state took this logic of fences and extraction and hardened it into international law. This creates the Westphalian trap. In the 21st century, the walls of the nation-state are porous to hazards, but rigid against solutions. Carbon dioxide emitted in Ohio melts ice in Antarctica. The atmosphere recognizes no customs officers. While hazards move freely at a planetary scale, our ability to regulate or plan for them stops at the border. We cannot survive global threats within a legal container built for competitive, short-term sovereignty. We are attempting to bail out a sinking vessel using buckets because the rules dictate that each captain is only permitted to manage the water inside their own cabin. These systems are not the work of evil. They are obsolete legacy systems. They were designed for a world of slower movement and local impact. They are simply misaligned with the complexity of the world they created. Our task is to move beyond the limitations of these current pillars without rejecting their genuine achievements. We must transcend and include. The unfinished work of the Enlightenment is not more freedom, it is wiser freedom. It is the effort to join our inherited emancipation with a mature responsibility toward the entire biosphere. We are the first generation with the power to alter the planet's life support systems, and we are likely the last with a realistic opportunity to redesign our civilizational architecture before it fails. We stand at the hinge point, heirs to extraordinary gifts and stewards of extraordinary peril.